before I bring in my guests, I do want to go ahead and just give you, I guess, an intro about our next story. So RFK Jr. had an event in New York the other night. This event had been moved around. I forget the reason why, but it was originally at one location. And I think the organization that owned that location said, no, we can't have you here. So it was rescheduled somewhere else, but the event still happened. And this was in an effort for him to show his undying support for the state of Israel. Now, there are two protesters. They're part of the Bronx Anti-War Coalition. They were there. I do have video footage. I know that one of them actually confronted him in reference to what happened to the Palestinian journalist. And I think you guys really need to see this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ganja Girl.
Hi, everyone.
And Richie, what's up?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having us on, Sabby.
Yes, Sabby, it's an honor.
Thank you both so much for coming on. I want to start off by showing this video clip from Indie News Network. So at this event with RFK Jr., this was actually a view of the event outside. So I want you to see, all of you guys to see the line here. There were protesters. There were Hasidic Jewish protesters protesting against what RFK Jr. has to say. So I just want to show you the line of people really quick. And you can see they're protesting here in reference to Zionism. Okay, so before I get into the next clip, because the next clip that I want to show is actually Roger Meadows interviewed one of the gentlemen that was protesting, and he explains like why he's there. Both of you were at this event. What was the atmosphere like? Were there more people there that were, protesting this event, or were there more people that were in favor of what RFK Jr. had to say?
Well, RFK Jr. really didn't say much. It was completely Botich. I don't want to call him a gentleman, but the individual who was putting it on, Rabbi Shmuley Botich. And I would say that it was largely a pro-Zionist crowd inside. But on the outside, with the group, with the NK group, one of the main ones who you're going to see, his name is Rabbi David Weiss. And he's actually a friend of the Bronx Screens. Good people.
All right. Let's go ahead and go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, one comment on this rabbi. He's actually pretty well known in the pro-Palestine, anti-Zionist movement in New York City. Gajin Girl and I have seen him at many pro-Palestinian liberation demonstrations. He's very popular because of how well he articulates how being against Zionism and the state of Israel is not anti-Semitic. So we'll let him share his thoughts.
He's a real mensch.
All right, here we go. Uh-oh, Eric, it's a Twitter thing again. Let me refresh it. Sometimes Twitter does this with videos. It's kind of annoying, but they do it. There we go.
Hi.
I like to do these things, whatever.
Right, yeah.
So can you?
Yeah, with God's help, we're basically here to clarify, to educate that Judaism is a religion, subservience to God, and Zionism in the state of Israel is antithetical to that. It's contradictory to that. It's a transformation from religion to nationalism. My religion, Judaism, is 3,000 years old, and this movement of the state of Israel, this nationalist movement of Zionism, is a mere 100-odd years, and it's totally forbidden according to our Torah what they are doing. To occupy, to kill, to steal, to oppress the Palestinian people is really unacceptable. It's a rebellion against God. It's not our religion, yet They are masquerading the state of Israel and Jewish name Israel and the Star of David, and using all the Jewish symbols in order to stifle any voice that opposes what they're doing by accusing people of being anti-Semitic. And that's unacceptable. We want the world to know that the Zionist state of Israel has no right to speak in our name, of our holy religion of Judaism. We want the world to know the distinct difference between what we are, our religion, and what Zionism, the state of Israel, is. We are, again, people, peaceful religion of being subservient to God. We cry and hurt with the Palestinian people and their suffering. We are humiliated beyond words to what is being done to the Palestinian people for well over 75 years now, and all with impunity in the name of our religion. This is really truly unacceptable. Unfortunately, the world seems to ignore the voice of the very religious Jews around the world who live in Palestine, who daily protest against this occupation. The words of our communities here, the very large Jewish communities that are living right here in New York, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the largest concentration of religious Jews, where there's not one Israeli flag. We are all opposed to the existence of the state. We want the world to understand that. Unfortunately, here there's a gathering. They have Robert Kennedy is here to speak, and basically he says he's not anti-Semitic, and therefore he's trying to show support for the state of Israel. We want him to understand that that's not the route to take. We appreciate people who want, have sympathy for Jews and want to help us. But the truth of sympathy for Jews would be with the peaceful and speedy and total removal of the state of Israel, the dismantlement of this impediment to peace. Because we have been for hundreds of years living together, Jews and Muslims, even though we have a distinctly different religion in Palestine and throughout the Arab world. So the only reason that there is a rift and that there is bloodshed and ongoing upheaval is because of the existence of the state of Israel and the support that it is getting from the United States and so forth. This does not help the situation. It just exacerbates and continues this terrible Nakba, what the Arabs call Nakba, this tragedy, this terrible, terrible, colossal tragedy.
Let me just pause here for a second, and I want to pivot to you, Ganja Girl. Could you, because I know that you are Jewish, can you elaborate on when he says that he considers Zionism to be nationalism? Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, I think that he would, as a rabbi, he would be the one to really elaborate on that. But there's nothing in Judaism which says we must have this land right here. There's a huge difference between a religion and land rights and who's considered a citizen or not for a certain territory. I mean, that's just an overview. It's one of the things that is really toxic with the whole concept of Zionism is that it actually plays into what's called the dual loyalty trope, which is when you conflate Israel and Judaism, which the two do not go together necessarily. You don't have to be a Zionist to be Jewish, and you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. They're completely different ideologies.
Well said. It's really interesting to me too. When I lived in New York, I actually lived in Midwood. I don't know if it still is today, but at that point in time, that was a Jewish neighborhood, predominantly Jewish neighborhood. The schools they had Hebrew schools and everything. I remember the first time I went to like a pizza place and I asked for like a pepperoni pizza. And that's how I realized I asked for a pepperoni pizza. And the guy was like, you can't get them together. You can't get the pepperoni and the cheese together. And I was like, what? And so he explained everything to me, but I never saw this mentality, Ganja Girl and Richie. I never saw this when I lived in that neighborhood. I never heard this type of rhetoric, especially in reference to the Palestinians. I never heard this. Is this more of a newer thing, or do you think, how do you feel most people in that community feel in reference to this issue with Israel and Palestine?
I think it depends how you've been raised and how much you've thought of the whole issue. I mean, I can certainly say that growing up in my synagogue, it was certainly, you know, whenever we talked of Israel, you know, as in the actual state, not Israel just in general historically, but, you know, there was a beneficial sheen to it. But so it depends on who you talk to.
Okay, let me finish this clip here, and then we're going to get to your confrontation with RFK Jr.
I forgot to ask you your name. I'm sorry, sir.
Rabbi Yisrael David Weiss of Mature Character Jews United Against Zionism.
Okay, my name's Roger Meadows.
Nice.
What is your opinion of this guy, Rabbi Shmuley?
Oh, these guys are, you know, again, these are people who use the name of Judaism, and they really have no right to speak in the name of our religion. They use sensationalism, all different aspects of, and attempts to really to justify crime. They may be popular, they may be very charismatic, but they're not speaking in the name of my religion. They are totally, really contradictory with a message to our religion. And in many issues, they happen to be not jiving with the Jewish religion. But this is, of course, a case in point. The concept of supporting Israel is a direct rebellion against Jewish religion, against God.
Okay. I'm going to put...
Okay. And then he tells him what he's going to do with that video. Very, very well said. Now, I have this video here, and this is the one I think. Well, where's the video? Hold on one second. I'm sorry. While I pull up that video, Richie, I want to make sure you get to speak as well. What was it like for you? Like, what was the environment like at the event?
Yeah, so it was a mixed crowd, I would say. So definitely majority of the folks that were there were, you know, in support of the state of Israel. You know, many were Zionists. And you can see from the reactions from the crowd when you play those videos when we were challenging RFK Jr. and Shmuley. But what I want to highlight about this rabbi who was outside with his, you know, some of his congregation is that he knows the religious texts inside and out. And what he's explaining is that there's nothing in the text that says that, you know, we need to be supporting this state of Israel, that we need to be supporting settler colonialism and the genocide of Palestinians. And what the text is actually telling us is that we need to be against this this nationalist fascist movement. And then he also references the movements that are happening within the state of Israel. We don't get to see the opposition to the state of Israel that's happening internally. We only get the message and the narrative that's put out by the Israeli lobby. So I just wanted to just highlight what he said. There is a large movement in Israel against the genocide of Palestinians and the apartheid that's currently happening there. But in terms of the ambiance there, you know, we were definitely in the minority when we were inside as those that are anti-Zionist and those that are for Palestinian liberation. So we were definitely on the smaller side when it came to opposition.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We don't get to see that other side. We don't get to see that other side of it. The people who are against that. I want to show this clip here. So this is where, if I'm remembering this correctly, Ganja Girl, when you asked this question, you were asking RFK Jr. this question.
Yes, I was asking him specifically, and Bochich jumped in.
That's what I thought. Okay, so this clip is in reference to the U.S. Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. For those of you, I think a lot of you remember that story about the Palestinian journalist that was killed. She was a U.S. citizen. So let's get into this. So this is Ganja Girl confronting RFK Jr. about this particular issue.
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank you for your position on mandates. As a Jewish woman who cares for justice, I do have a question. It's been about a year since U.S. citizen and journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot by the IDF. It is known through both video and forensic science that it was definitely the IDF and that they targeted her. Are you willing to commit to calling for Israel to extradite the soldier to the U.S. with body cam for a public U.S. trial? She is a U.S. citizen and justice should be served. Also,
Okay, I'm just going to pause here and we'll get through the rest of it, but I'm just going to pause here right now. Noticed immediately how quickly he stood up. Again, you were asking this question to RFK Jr., not to Rabbi Shmuley, but he immediately stands up to interject to try to prevent you from finishing your statement, from saying the rest of what you were going to say, almost as if he's trying to prevent some type of information from getting out. Was that the impression that you had?
That was definitely the impression I had. As a matter of fact, when my question came out, I saw RFK kind of look over to Buttigieg, like, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's let it finish.
Also, let me finish. Don't speak over me, sir.
Let's just do one question at a time.
Sir, please let me finish. Also, please,
if you make it quick,
can you also commit to having a conversation one-on-one with Jewish Voice for Peace?
Okay. So
I'm just going to pause there too. Why the boos? Why are people booing about peace?
Because that was a very Zionist crowd, and Jewish Voice for Peace is completely and totally against the occupation.
This is wild. This is wild to me.
Wait. Let's be civil about this. What's your name, please?
My name is.
What is it? Thank you for coming to that.
That's a good question. Why did they need to know your name?
Yeah, actually, Richie, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they asked your name.
No, they didn't ask for my name. We were wondering the same thing. You know, we're thinking that maybe they're trying to create some kind of blacklist because they don't like the questions that we're asking.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because AOC created a blacklist, and that's why Jose wasn't able to get into the last event that he went to, because it was Jose and Lucy. They weren't able to get in. And so the thing is, that's why I was like, why does he need to know her name? And why is he standing? Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Israel is a open democracy with a free press.
I didn't ask you, by the way. I asked that. No.
Let Bobby will answer in a second.
He wants to be president, you guys? How is he going to be president? He can't answer this question. And I hope everyone is paying attention to this.
And by the way, is he trying to be president of the United States, or is he trying to be president of Israel?
This is just, I don't know. I feel like this guy, and I'm going to tell you guys something about Rabbi Shmuley after this video is over, because I found out some things about him. But the thing is that it's almost like he is RFK Jr.'s handler or something, and he's speaking for him, and RFK Jr. is just sitting there. And I'm supposed to believe he can't answer that question, and I'm supposed to believe that he's going to dismantle the CIA? Is this what we're supposed to believe? Okay.
I'm going to correct misinformation. The IDF has now admitted that this renowned Palestinian journalist probably did die from an Israeli bullet during a shootout against terrorists. She was there covering it. When you said that she was deliberately targeted is an absolute lie.
She was definitely targeted. She had a helmet on. Wait. She had a helmet on, and she had armor.
She has covered.
Okay, so we've seen video footage about this.
Yeah. It's, by the way, a few of the captions are a little bit off. I was saying she had she had armor on, body armor. Yeah, there is video. There is video that she was shot, that there was absolutely no firefight going on at the time, that the only people there besides the press crew was an IDF truck down the street, completely quiet. And then all of a sudden the shots rang out, bang, bang, bang. She had a helmet on. She had, the body armor. And there was a very small spot where you could get a bullet through. Yep. There is no way that was an accident.
Yeah, no. For people who, I think most people watching, I think you guys are familiar with that situation. I know we talked about it, at least on RBN when that happened. But yeah, she did have on body armor. So it was like, in order to hit her, you had to.
You had to aim.
Exactly. All right, let me finish.
There is no way.
She covered dozens
There
of
is no way. Wait. Took a direct shot.
No. She covered dozens of military. She covered dozens of military raids. Why did they wait to?
It took a direct shot.
They what?
It took a direct shot to get her between the helmet and the armor.
What is your source for this?
What my source? My source is forensics and the video.
I have no source.
And the video.
So Israel conducted a lengthy investigation about this, which is what they do always, and amazingly.
Why is he telling this to RFK? Did you guys notice this, how he turned to RFK Jr. to tell this to him? Why is he, how is it that, okay, I'll get into that question in a minute, but there's just something very off here about this whole energy, this whole vibe, him standing up, and RFK Jr. is just sitting there like mad chill. There's something really off here about the energy in this room.
They admitted it probably was an Israeli bullet, and unfortunately,
Mr. Kennedy,
journalists who died,
Mr. Kennedy,
it is tragic.
Don't you think that, Mr. Kennedy, do you not think that this, I am Jewish, do not tell me that. Mr. Kennedy.
What did he say to you because you said I am Jewish?
Yeah. A second before that, when I said that she was targeted, he said to me, that's blood libel. He was basically calling me not Jewish.
Okay.
Please don't you believe that the U.S. should be able to adjudicate this? She was a U.S. citizen. She was also a journalist. And again, do you also commit to sitting down with the Jewish Voice for Peace and having a conversation with them, or do those Jewish voices not count?
I think that's a valid question. Like, why is he only willing to start to talk to certain Jewish people?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. Okay. And look at the energy, guys. Like, what is this? Is this his dad? Like, why is he standing? I don't like this dynamic. I feel like this is a power dynamic that I don't like.
Yes, they do. Thank you.
Okay, enough. Let him respond, and we're going to move on. Go ahead.
I don't know enough about the case to make a judgment about, extradition, and I don't know if we even have an extradition treaty for that particular crime.
Do you believe, how is it possible that he doesn't know about this, you guys? How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
And not only that, but even if there weren't extradition laws in place, the United States gives Israel about $4 billion a year. You're telling me that they can't tell Israel, hey, you just killed one of our own. You're going to extradite this guy and he's going to be on trial. Otherwise, we're cutting off everything. And if Israel was an ally, they would go, yes, definitely.
Well, it's just like when the Saudi prince killed the American, remember the American journalist that was killed by the Saudi prince? There was no accountability. They're like, well, Saudi Arabia is an ally. There was no accountability. Like, these journalists should be protected. Oh, boy.
or what the basis of it would be in Israel or Palestine or wherever the killing took place. I just couldn't answer your question.
Since Israel is our last nation, do you agree? All right, thank you. You're on record. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Let me tell you something about this guy, okay? This dude here, because for people who don't know, Rabbi Shmuley, did you guys know that he ran for Congress in 2012 and he ran as a Republican? Did you guys know that? Yeah, ran for Congress as a Republican in 2012, won the Republican primary, did not win the general election. Did you guys also know that he was friends with Michael Jackson? And apparently after Michael Jackson died, he wrote a book called The Michael Jackson Tapes. I also found out this guy was on a reality show. What is this really about?
He was definitely the Robert F. Kennedy's mouthpiece. I think that we heard more from Shmuley than we did RFK Jr. And in this particular interaction, the reason that he stood up and wanted to answer this question on RFK's behalf is because of the prior question that I asked, that I think we'll probably get into later, where RFK just says the wrong thing, and Shmuley feels like he needs to step in and make sure that he doesn't go off track, off the narrative.
100%. Well, if I could mention just a few of Shmuley's other friends.
Sure.
Trump, Ted Cruz, Steve Bannon.
What?
He has selfies with Steve Bannon.
I hope everybody's hearing this. Like, what is this really all about? With Steve Bannon, so I want to show you guys something. Fiorella caught this. Fiorella, this is also from this event as well. Fiorella said, while RFK acknowledged Israel has nuclear weapons, he either naively or disingenuously pretends Israel is not going to use their nuclear weapon unless they are attacked. Listen to this, a very short clip, but he admits that they have it.
Israel's use of that nuclear weapon is not going to happen unless it's attacked. And we know that. Israel's use of that nuclear weapon is not going to happen unless it's attacked.
And then this piece here about the journal. So this is the woman that was killed. Okay. So there is a mural here and you can see the picture over towards the left. She has on a helmet and she has on the armor. She was covered. Okay. So it says deadly pattern. 20 journalists died by Israeli military fire in 22 years. No one has been held accountable.
So the IDF can murder Palestinians, U.S. citizens, journalists with impunity, the same way that here in the United States, our domestic police forces can murder civilians, especially Black and brown and trans individuals, also with impunity. So this just goes to show you the relationship between the IDF forces, local domestic police forces. And in fact, for many people who don't know, the NYPD, we're both in New York City, the NYPD has an office in Israel, which is used to cross-train NYPD police in IDF tactics for crowd control. And, what we're seeing with the IDF and the impunity that they have and the protection that they have from the U.S. government, it's just what we see here domestically as well. So I just want to point out that relationship.
It's just this lack of empathy. Well, there seems to be, there's just this lack of empathy towards like the Palestinian people. And I don't know why RFK Jr. is in bed with these people. I don't know what this is all really about, but it just seems like to me this does not make sense. Like, you cannot say, I just saw a podcast that actually Roger Meadows sent me of RFK Jr. where he's in a black barbershop just chilling. And there's a clip where he talks about like reparations. So he goes on to say like, yeah, the money should be given to black institutions, but he's against cash reparations, which is what I figured. But how can you sit up there and make those statements in reference to black people, but you show no empathy in reference to the Palestinian people? This is all one fight. Like, this is not a separate thing. Just because they're abroad, this is all one fight. And so to me, there is something very off about this. I did not like the energy that was on that stage. That was odd to me. And it seemed like not just Rabbi Shmuley speaking for RFK Jr., but he was so quick to stand up and interrupt you as if you were going to say something that he did not want the rest of the people in that audience to hear. And that is very concerning to me. But again, I'm supposed to sit here and believe that RFK Jr. is going to stand up to the CIA. He's going to reform the CIA, and he can't even answer questions for himself. Sorry, I had a little rant there.
I would like to make a comment on the video that you played, Sabi, regarding Israel's nuclear stockpile. So for those that may not know, Israel has an undeclared arsenal of nuclear weapons. So that video that you played was actually a response to a question that I asked RFK Jr. I asked him, are you willing to demand that the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is tasked with inspecting the nuclear weapons that various nations around the world have, would he demand that the IAEA be, tasked with inspecting Israel's nuclear weapons capabilities, which again, it's a secret program that's not officially recognized. And also, would he demand that Israel sign on to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty? And his immediate response was, Israel is not going to use their nuclear weapons unless they are attacked, unless they are provoked. But we all know that Israel attacks and provokes its neighbors on a daily basis. Israel has bombed Syria at least 20 times this year alone, attacking critical infrastructure such as the largest airport in Syria, which is in Damascus. So for them to, for the state of Israel and the U.S. government to fearmonger about Iran's nuclear weapons and their capabilities is just pure hypocrisy, because they're allowing the state of Israel to have nuclear weapons completely unchecked. And in the 1990s, there was a whistleblower who worked in one of those nuclear facilities, and he blew the whistle, gave information about, his name was Mordecai. I can't remember his last name right now, Mordecai Vanunu. And he, was captured and tortured by Israel for just acknowledging that this the nuclear program exists. So the reason that we saw Shmuley standing up for Gadgen Girl's question was because RFK stepped out of line. He acknowledged that the nuclear program exists. And I believe that he just didn't want RFK to further, tell the truth, which is actually what he accidentally did. Or we don't know if it was accidental or not, but clearly he knows that these nuclear weapons exist.
Okay, so there's another clip here, and this is from, I believe this is Lucy. Let me pull this up here. From the event, after an absurd claim from Shmuley that RFK Jr.'s father was assassinated because of his support for Israel, remember Lucy asked RFK Jr. why he doesn't mention the Mossad's role in the, okay, yeah, this is the one. Let me play this one as well. And they really didn't like this question.
Was not the murderer of Robert JFK. He was not the murderer of Robert Kennedy's father. He was not the murderer. Mossad was implicated in the murder. Why are you lying? Why are you such a coward? you say the truth about what actually happened and call for a real investigation into your father's murder.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everyone, please ignore her.
Thank you.
We could.
You see this? Once again, RFK Jr. is not the one responding.
Could have gone to Bobby Kennedy and his family and said, your father died for our people.
Was not the murder.
Yeah, this guy, man, there have been other things that I have noticed. I know Max Blumenthal has called this out as well, but it just seems to be that he does not seem to be willing to have this conversation with people who, again, may agree with him on other issues that he's running on, but doesn't agree with him in reference to Israel and Palestine. He's not willing to have that conversation with those people. He hasn't spoken to, and I know who has reached out. He hasn't spoken to Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal, like Aaron. He hasn't been on the Katie Halper show. He hasn't been on Useful Idiots. He hasn't been on Bad Faith. He hasn't been on any show that has a left audience. And it's something that I've noticed. Yes, he's been on Russell Brand. Yes, he's been on Glenn Greenwald, but their audience, the majority of their audience is not left. And so that says something to me. Like, what are you trying to do? Why are you avoiding the people who are really going to push you, especially someone like Max? Max is Jewish. So why are you avoiding those people? To your point, Ganja Girl, why is he avoiding certain Jewish people?
Yeah, and if I can add, something I've seen some people try to defend him with, and this is not me smearing RFK, I want to make this point, is the people who are saying, well, you know, we can't be interested. This is a single issue problem. We can't just focus on that. This isn't a single issue problem. This is human rights and this is integrity. If you cannot stand up to power, and if you cannot reach out and get all the information, then why are you running for president?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm starting to wonder, like, what is this really about? Like, are you really trying to run to be president, or is this a step for something else? There's this one more photo or video I do want to show. This gentleman here, I assume it looked like he was kicked out of the event. Lucy posted this. This is Paul from Bronx Greens. It says, I'm Jewish too. Paul from Bronx Greens said at the RFK Jr. event, as the audience jeered at him and called him not a Jew for disagreeing with reality TV, Shalom in the Home, and Secrets of Kosher Sex, Robbie Shmuley. Yeah, that was the name of the show. So I just want to play this clip here so people can see Paul as well.
This is exactly what
you're an asshole. Now you're kicking. You got your little dipshit lying, using someone. What a fucking asshole you turn out to be.
Stand up.
The stupidest thing I ever heard. Fuck you, asshole. No, I'm Jewish too, motherfucker. I love Jews. You hate Palestinians.
You look like you love us.
Yeah, because I am
With friends like you. My friends, now you see what the stakes are when we make false.
Oh my God. This guy gives me televangelist vibes.
Let me just point out one thing with that video. Paul's a good friend, by the way. We, the Bronx Greens, and Richie and the Bronx Anti-War Coalition, we're the kind of Bronx that AOC pretends to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, forget the language, but sometimes it has to be said.
And the reason that Paul reacted in that manner was because everything that Shmuley was saying was just a complete lie, saying that, you know, the Palestinians have, you know, the right to vote, that they're, you know, treated better in Israel than in Palestine, just like complete garbage. And Paul just couldn't take it anymore. None of us could. Like I was sitting next to Gaijin Girl the whole time, but I'm like, I'm gonna throw up. I gotta bite my tongue, because everything he was just saying was just a blatant lie, and Paul just couldn't help himself, and we support his reaction, because that's how we were all feeling.
Absolutely. Among other things.
Oh, go ahead.
Just to give you one example, because he was saying, oh, we're such an amazing country, we're diverse and blah blah blah, and you know that you cannot get married interfaith in Israel.
Really?
They'll recognize something from outside the country, but not inside the country. So there's something called pinkwashing, and they do it.
What about the Ethiopian Jews that are in Israel? There's another thing that Mint Press News actually had revealed this to me last year. I was not aware this was happening to them either. And for people who don't know, there are Ethiopian Jews in Israel. They're from Ethiopia. Some of them actually may have been born in Israel. They're also getting similar treatment to the Palestinians. It's not talked about as much because there aren't as many of them, I believe, as there are Palestinians, but they're getting that similar treatment. And a lot of people don't talk about it or don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank both of you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And, more power to you. Thank you for getting that question out, because that question needs to be asked. I think that's why he doesn't want to. It's like, if he does talk to someone, like if he does have this conversation with Max, like what if he brings Rabbi Shmuley with him to sit in the background and just look at him and say, what do I say? Thank you, guys. Thank you both.
If I could, just one last thing is, I'd like to once again extend the request to RFK, if in the $1 million chance that he's watching this, that he, number one, call for the extradition of the soldier who killed Shireen, and sit down with JVP, and I will help broker it. It's not that hard, and all he has to do is do it. And he should.
There you go. All right, Ganja Girl and Richie, thank you both. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having us, Abby. And if there's one last thing I want to tell your audience, we want to encourage everyone who's listening to do the same in your local communities. Whenever you have these politicians coming through to your town, to your city, we need you to go in there and ask the tough questions, because mainstream media and corporate media is not going to do this. As Sabi said, they're not going onto the left independent shows, and it's really up to us, the citizens, to go to these events and to confront these politicians and get them on video and do the people a service. So please go out and do that. And hopefully what you saw today will be an inspiration to get you out into the field.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, a lot of information there to take in. I'm gonna go to some of the comments, and then we're gonna get to this Obama story, which I think a lot of you probably want to hear about. Shout out to Queen Lions of Israel for becoming a Sabby member. Give her a big whoop whoop. Thank you for the super chat, Roger. Shout out to me for doing a drive-by with my camera. That was you, Roger. That was Roger driving by. What's up? Matthew says, I live in Midwood. What's up? Someone knows what I'm talking about. What's up, Matthew? Pete says, Albert Einstein opposed an armed Jewish state and refused to be leader of Israel when asked. Thank you for this as well, Roger. Max Blumenthal warned us about this dude a few months back. That's right. And thank you for this as well. Richie, that was you. I recorded. I thought that was Keenan. And Robin says, RFK Jr. has no problem being censored by Rabbi Shmuley. I don't know, man. I don't know what is happening with all of this.